The doors of the council chamber locked behind us before I even understood what was happening. I am Daniel Voss, third attaché to the Terran mission, and I was standing 2 steps behind Ambassador Laura Whitfield when the alarm started. Red light poured across the black glass walls of the chamber. Every alien delegate froze in place. I felt my own heartbeat climb into my throat. We had walked out of the peace talks only 40 minutes earlier. That was supposed to be the end of it. A quiet exit, a closed folder, a message sent without a single threatening word. Now the doors were sealed. The air felt thinner, and somewhere above us, a mechanical voice repeated a warning in a language I did not recognize. Laura did not look afraid. She stood with her hands loose at her sides, watching the far end of the chamber where the Velthari council members were arguing among themselves in sharp, clipped tones. Sevrosh Cole, their senior negotiator, turned toward us with his silver plating catching the red light. His voice came out steady, but I could hear the strain underneath it. "We did not seal this chamber," he said. "Someone else did." Laura's eyes narrowed. "Then find out who," she said, "because right now it looks like your people trapped mine inside a locked room." I stepped closer to her, my pulse hammering. "Ambassador," I whispered, "what do we do?" "We wait," she said quietly, "and we watch." The mechanical voice above us repeated its warning again, and this time, a translation crawled across the wall in glowing letters. "Security breach detected. Unauthorized access to Central Data Core. All chambers locked for containment." A data breach? Someone was stealing information from the Council's central archive, and the system had locked every chamber in the building to stop them from escaping. We were caught in the middle of it, trapped with a delegation we no longer trusted, during the exact hour we had planned to be far away. Major Vaith, the mediator, pressed his hand against a control panel that refused to respond. His breathing came out in short bursts through the translator. "This has never happened before," he said. "Not in 400 years of council history." "Then it seems today is a day of many first times," Laura said. I watched the Velthari delegates whispering to each other, glancing at us with something new in their eyes. It was not anger anymore. It was fear. They were afraid that whoever had broken into the archive might have done it because of us, because of the walkout, because of whatever they thought humanity might be capable of when pushed. That fear was about to get much worse. A panel on the far wall flickered and split open, revealing a narrow maintenance corridor behind it. A figure stumbled out, breathing hard, clutching a small silver device against her chest. She wore a council technician uniform, but her face was pale and her hands were shaking. "My name is Elena Marsh," she said, gasping. "I work in the archive division. Please, you have to listen to me." Laura stepped forward immediately, cutting between Elena and the nearest Velthari guard. "Explain," she said, quickly. Elena held up the silver device. It was small, no bigger than a deck of cards, with a faint blue light pulsing along its edge. "Someone tried to erase every record of the Kiren corridor negotiations," she said. "Every draft, every recording, every signature. I managed to copy the last clean version before the wipe finished, but the system flagged me as an intruder and locked the whole building to stop me from leaving." Sevrosh Cole stared at her. "Why would anyone erase negotiation records?" he said. "What is there to hide?" Elena's eyes flicked toward him, then toward Laura, then back again. "Because the version they tried to erase proves the corridor agreement was changed after both sides signed it," she said. "Someone altered the terms after the fact and tried to make it look like the original." The chamber went silent except for the low hum of the sealed doors. I felt the floor tilt slightly under my feet, though nothing had actually moved. Someone had tampered with a signed agreement between 2 civilizations. If that was true, it meant the entire 11 weeks of negotiation had been a performance, covering something far more serious. Laura turned to Sevrosh Cole, her voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass. "Who has access to alter a signed record?" she asked. "Only senior council administrators," he said. not negotiators, not delegates like myself. Then someone above your position wanted this corridor changed badly enough to break their own laws to do it, Laura said. Chorvaith's eye ridges lowered. If this is true, he said, it threatens the legitimacy of every treaty this council has ever signed. Every species in this system will question every agreement they have ever made. That was the moment the second alarm began. This one was louder, sharper, and came with a new light, orange instead of red, sweeping across the ceiling. Elena flinched and looked down at the device in her hands. They found the copy, she said. They know I have it. They are trying to trace the signal. Destroy it then, one of the Velthari guards said, stepping forward with his hand extended. Give it to us, and we will make sure it never falls into the wrong hands. No, Laura said, stepping between them without raising her voice. If you destroy the only evidence of tampering, the truth disappears with it. That is not protection. That is a cover-up. The guard hesitated, looking to Sevrosh Cole for a decision. Sevrosh Cole looked at Laura for a long moment, then at Elena, then at the flickering blue light of the device. Give it to the humans, he said finally. The guard's head turned sharply. Ambassador, he said, we cannot simply hand evidence to an outside delegation. We cannot trust our own administration either, not until we know who ordered the wipe, Sevrosh Cole said. At least the humans have no reason to hide the truth. They walked away from these talks the moment they suspected something was wrong. That is not the behavior of a species with something to hide. That is the behavior of a species that noticed the lie before the rest of us did. I stared at him, stunned. It was the closest thing to respect I had heard from a Velthari delegate in 11 weeks, and it had taken a crisis to draw it out of him. Elena handed the device to Laura, her fingers still trembling. There is a copy protocol built into the archive network, she said. If we can reach a terminal before they trace the signal, I can push the clean record to every council member at once. Once it is public, no one can erase it again. Where is the nearest terminal? Laura asked. 2 floors down, Elena said, past the security checkpoint, but the doors are sealed everywhere. Laura looked at Chorvaith. You are the mediator, she said. You must have an override for situations like this. Chorvaith's hands moved quickly across the panel, entering a long sequence of symbols. For a moment nothing happened. Then, with a groan of shifting metal, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow stairwell lit by dim emergency lights. This will bypass the main lock for exactly 90 seconds, he said. After that it reseals automatically. Go now. Laura did not hesitate. She grabbed Elena's arm and pulled her toward the stairwell, and I followed close behind, my legs moving faster than I thought they could. Behind us, I heard Sevrosh Cole's voice, low and urgent, ordering his guards to hold the chamber and give us time. The stairwell was narrow and cold, the emergency lights flickering with every step. Elena counted the seconds under her breath as we moved. 60, she said. 55. We reached the bottom of the stairs just as the 90 seconds ran out, and the wall behind us sealed shut with a heavy metallic thud. Ahead of us stood the security checkpoint, its scanners dark and unresponsive, caught in the same lockdown as everything else. There, Elena said, pointing to a terminal glowing faintly in the corner of the room. That one is still connected to the archive backbone. If I can get the device to sync with it, the record spreads to every council office in the building within seconds. She moved to the terminal and pressed the silver device against a receiving slot. The blue light pulsed faster, then steadied into a solid glow. Come on, she whispered. Come on. A red light appeared on the terminal screen, and a warning tone sounded. Unauthorized access attempt blocked, a mechanical voice said. Elena's face fell. They locked me out, she said. I do not have clearance anymore. They must have revoked it the moment I left the archive. Laura stepped forward without a word and placed her hand on the terminal. Try my credentials, she said. Diplomatic access sometimes overrides internal restrictions in emergencies. It was one of the first things I learned when we joined this council. Elena typed quickly, feeding Laura's access code into the system. The red light flickered, hesitated, and then turned green. "Access granted," the voice said. "Transmission beginning." We watched the small blue light pulse across the screen as the record spread outward, office by office, chamber by chamber, until a soft chime confirmed the transmission was complete. The true, unaltered agreement over the Kiren corridor now existed in the hands of every council member in the building, impossible to erase, impossible to deny. The orange alarm above us fell silent. A moment later, the red lights faded too, replaced by the calm white glow of normal operation. I let out a breath I did not know I had been holding. Elena leaned against the terminal, exhausted but smiling faintly. "It is done," she said. "They cannot hide it now." Laura nodded slowly, then looked at me with something close to warmth in her tired eyes. "This is why we do not raise our voices, Daniel," she said. "We do not need to shout to be heard. We only need to make sure the truth cannot be buried." When we returned to the main chamber, Sevrush Cole was waiting near the doors, his guards standing quietly behind him. He looked at Laura for a long moment before speaking. "The senior administrator responsible for the alteration has already been identified," he said. "The council will begin a formal inquiry within the hour." "Good," Laura said. "Then perhaps now we can finally sign an agreement that means what it says." Sevrush Cole inclined his head, something between respect and quiet surrender in the gesture. "Perhaps," he said, "we should have listened to you from the very beginning." As we stepped out into the corridor beyond the chamber, the morning light of the station's artificial sky spread gold across the walls, and for the first time in 11 long weeks, I felt something close to peace settle over the negotiations, earned not through threats, but through patience, courage, and the simple refusal to let a lie stand unchallenged.